Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Fishing Canada Live.
How are you? Hello, Angelo. How are you?
Good, thank you. I see we both decided to wear black today. That's kind of interesting.
Men in black. Look at us. Oh, yeah, look at you.
You're breaking up, buddy.
Look at you, eh?
Anyways, I was going to say, Pete and I don't rehearse this stuff, so and certainly nobody tells us what to wear, but we decided obviously both to wear black today. We must have been thinking alike.
Yeah.
So, but you look very handsome.
Usually we have a sponsor's logo too or something like that, but we said all Fishing Canada today. What the heck, right? What the heck?
Even Bubba is wearing Fishing Canada logo. By the way, for those of you who are saying, "Hey, wait a minute, you and Bubba are too close," we're not. He's got a mask on. We are, but he's got a mask on. In case you can't see it in the darkness here. All right. We got a ton of stuff. First of all, hi to everybody out there. I see Calvin is with us and all the usual suspects. Hello and welcome to the program. Hopefully everybody is doing well and safe.
Marty Meadows is on.
Oh, Marty, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, brother. That's awesome. By the way, Calvin Pennell, have we announced yet about Calvin or not? Did we do that?
No, go ahead.
Just to let everybody know that Calvin is such a great contributor to to almost every post we do, social, on the web, on our site, et cetera, that, and Ange started this a long time ago, this quest to get Calvin to be a blogger. And at first Calvin, he just didn't really feel like it, wasn't up to it. Well, finally got Calvin convinced to be a blogger. And I just went through his first blog today, is looking it over and all that. And it's just about pretty much ready to go up. So Calvin will now be another blogger on our list. And we all know he's an interesting character. So when he writes something out like that, I'll tell you what, you're going to want to read it. So welcome aboard, Calvin.
It's a good thing we're not paying Calvin by the word, by the way. Okay.
Actually, you know what? This one's not that bad. He didn't get that wordy on it. I mean, if you want to pay it by the scientific element, then you're going to owe him a lot of money for sure. It's good. He's good. He's a good read. He'll be fun for the site for sure.
We got a ton of things to go over. One of the main reasons we wanted to come back live, first of all, I know we keep saying we want to do this more often. We really do, but this fishingcanada.com situation that we're in right now is a moving target, and it's just never ending. So every time we think let's go live and talk about it, something else, there's a new twist and turn that we have to deal with. So we felt we're at a point right now where we were comfortable coming on live and talking to you about the contest and the site and the do's and don'ts and all the things that are going on in that area. So that's why we're here. But before we do that, it's funny, Pete and I, when we start talking about doing one of these live events, we say, what do you want to talk about? I say, I don't know. What do you think? Oh, I don't know. There's nothing really going on. And we say, okay, well, we'll see. By the time we go live, maybe we'll come up with something. And every time we do that, by the time we go live, we have got 132 things to fit into a place that will hold 4. And that's where we are right now. So,
that's too funny. So true.
Let's start out with first of all, it's that time of year where we're anticipating the opening of certain seasons. Certainly, trout is upon us coming up, but
very soon.
Yeah, and I think a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Last Saturday of April.
Before we get to that, of course, the new bass season regulations in this part of the country were the hot topic a few months ago when they were first announced. How's that coming along? We'd like to know if you've been out exercising your right to fish for bass at a time when we normally would not fish for bass. Let us know. Mr. Bowman, how have you been out?
I've been out. So here's an interesting one. You'll like this one, Ange. I went out for pike in zone 20 before it closed, right? So that is the end of March, the last day of March. So it was the last Saturday in March, basically, right? So, and of course, when you're fishing pike at that time of year, you're in bass waters. Really, you are, right? Like, I mean, these pike spawn in the same places that largemouth, not smallmouth. Sorry, I'm talking largemouth only.
Yeah.
And that whole day that a buddy and I fished, we did not see a largemouth bass. We caught some pike. We saw some big pike. We got some pike and all that, but didn't even see a largemouth. I was stunned. I talked to my buddies that were out that day. There was 4 other boats around, a ways away. Not one bass was seen or caught at that early in the year. And that surprised me. The water was in the 40s, and it was in the 44-degree range or something like that. And it really surprised me. But now, and they would have hit. Like, we were throwing MEPS number 3s. We were throwing little suspending jerk baits and a lot of, typical pike stuff, and the pike were eating it. But the bass were nowhere to be seen in that sense.
Okay, so I have to ask you the obvious.
Yeah.
Well, it's obvious to me. I don't know whether it's obvious to everybody else out here. So if let's roll back the clock to a year ago.
Yep.
Would you have been there a year ago fishing this time of year?
If I'd have known about it, this is the first time I've done that this year, but yes, I would have for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All
Closing? Right. Why? What are you saying? What are you trying to call me out on?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you questions that come to my mind. That's all.
The reason I went out is because I got reports last year that my buddies were already out before April. Okay, my boat wasn't out of storage yet. I'm thinking, you guys are out pike fishing already? And they loaded the fridge and freezer and bellies up with pike fillets at that time of year, right? So I said, yeah, I need to get in on that. So that's why I knew it was going to be one day on the water. I knew it was going to be. So I got.
Calvin says, thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated. It's reciprocal, by the way. Thank you for participating. Folks are going to love reading Calvin. If you haven't already been introduced to him, because Calvin is one of the most prolific people on fishingcanada.com in terms of responding to various blogs that are posted on it. And so now we'll have a different perspective of Calvin now. He's going to see the world from our eyes, which is very cool. I think it's going to be really interesting. Thanks, Calvin.
Yeah, he's going to be fun for sure.
So, okay. So I wonder how many people have gone out.
I've seen quite a few, not quite a few, I should say. I've seen some videos of people out, a couple of guys in particular, and they've been very good to into that sense of, if they're going to show themselves catching these fish, they're catching them and they're throwing them back immediately. They're not showing them to the camera. They're not doing all that kind of stuff. So they've been pretty good. I saw one guy posting some stills. I don't know if it was from this year or not, but I do see him posing and showing to the camera. And just to forewarn people, if you do that, the ministry could come after you. If they can prove you caught those fish right now, they could bust you. For not getting that.
Go one step further than saying that. The truth of the matter is that they will be watching for this. If you catch a bass and that bass is not immediately released at the side of the boat, they have all. First of all, let's be honest. Conservation officers don't need an excuse. Unlike regular law enforcement agencies, the COs are the only ones that really don't need an excuse to come in and talk to you and ask you questions. So if they witness that you are taking pictures of a bass during this period, they will come over and fine you, period. No questions asked. So just be warned, because I know there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up on the internet saying, I can't believe they would do that. I was just out having fun fishing and then took a picture. And yeah, they told us that.
And you know what? This law is not only not new, but it's not just for bass people. So when you catch a pike, right now in zone 20, you can fish for bass legally. You can't fish for pike legally. So you catch this pike that's out of season. You throw him up to the camera, you're breaking the law by holding that fish up. Not by taking the picture, by holding that fish up and detaining that fish from being released. Any species out there, if they are not in season, if they're protected for whatever reason, if you are adding time to that instead of an immediate accidental catch and immediate release, you're basically breaking the law. So be careful.
Moving on to another new regulation that is in place this year for the first time, and I'm wondering how people are dealing with it. Once again, if you are, I noticed we had a few people saying that they've been out fishing, no results. I haven't seen anybody saying, "Yay, it was a heyday out there."
Gangbusters. No. I know Will was carp fishing this year. I don't know if he ran the 3 rods or not, or 2 rods or not, but I know he was carp fishing this year.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask him if there are any folks out there watching that are with us today that have actually enjoyed the new 3-rod carp regulation that we have in this part of the country. And if so, let us know. I'm just curious how many people, once again, would not have been out carp fishing had it not been for the new 3-rod ruling, and B, the awareness of carp all of a sudden. I mean, carp has gone from total obscurity to now being at the top of the fishing news, certainly in Southern Ontario, as it has for the last year. And so people are coming out of the woodwork all of a sudden, and this could be a me thing. I'm a little quirky that way. I'm starting to notice all of a sudden people are coming out of the woodwork. People are, all of a sudden they're carp aficionados. All of a sudden there's carp agencies, and there's carp clubs, and there's carp. Everybody is jumping on the bandwagon and saying, yes, finally, all my hard work has paid off. We got the government to accept this ridiculous notion that you could only fish carp with 1 rod, and we got it changed, and hurrah, look at us, how wonderful we are. And probably it's a me thing. But what started that off was an article, and I'm not going to quote who wrote it or where it was written, but there is an article that has been recently published by a very well known organization saying, I hope you guys are all happy. We worked hard for you, and we now have, thanks to our hard efforts and work, we now have a new carp 3-rod regulation in place in Ontario. And don't forget who got that for you. So send your $49.99 and become a member, because, that's what it's all about. And so that's what I mean about people coming out of the woodwork. And
we were warned about people coming out of the woodwork. Remember, we talked to a certain individual that said, you watch now. You watch the people that come out of the woodwork. It's funny how you said that.
Let me set the record straight, just so that we understand who was behind this change. Because let's be honest about it. 99.9% of us right now on this webcast really weren't that interested in carp, and let alone carp fishing, up until recently. So let me just set the record straight, how the whole thing went down. In 2004-ish, first of all, we shot a Fishing Canada episode back in I think it was 2002. Our very first episode was shot with a gentleman by the name of Len Purdick, and you, Pete. And I believe you guys were downtown. I think you were in Toronto Islands.
Yep.
That was brought on by a gentleman by the name of Tom Brook. So Tom Brook at that time was president of Shimano Canada. And he was really eager to start the carp fishery here in this country, because it was obviously huge in Europe. And being in the rod and reel business, the tackle business, he really thought it was important that we as Canadians embrace carp and carp fishing. So he got a hold of, at that time, one of the few, if not the only, real carp angler that we had in the entire country. His name was Len Purdick. And the two of them decided that they were going to start promoting carp fishing, and they contacted us because we were already involved with Shimano at the time. They said, why don't you shoot a carp fishing show? And we said, a what? A carp fishing show. So we did. And from that episode, Tom and Len went on to start marketing carp fishing, but more importantly, seeing why in the world we had a 1-rod ruling when the rest of the world had multi-rod carp fishery, because carp fishing really sort of calls for multi-rods. And those of you who are in the carp fishing world, you know what we're talking about. So anyways, they started in the early 2000s. They started working with meetings with MNR. At that time, it was still MNR, not MNRF. And everything that they had written up and wanted to discuss fell on deaf ears with MNR. A few years later, a gentleman by the name of Jim Grayston, who was just coming up in Ontario tourism, coming up meaning he had just been moved into the tourism sector, and he started getting interested in carp fishing and thinking, yeah, we need to, bring this thing to life. And one of the ways we've got to do it is to change that single rod ruling. So Him, Jim Grayson, along with Len Purdick and Tom Brook, started, making it their daily routine to at least send messages to MNR and MNR officials. They met several times, and MNR kept saying, no, it ain't never going to happen. Forget it. Move on, boys. Get over it. I don't have this in writing. This next part I'm going to tell you, but I have it from very good authority that they went to the OFAH because the OFAH still is the voice of the Ontario angler, thinking, let's go there because they'll be able to help us. And the OFAH was not interested in that. Not only not interested, but for those of you who know that the OFAH, you know that they also promote bull hunting for carp. And
bull fishing, yeah. Bull fishing.
Bull fishing, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Which, if you're into carp at all, you know how ridiculous that is. That here we are in the year 2021, and we still, and by the way, this is not a slight against hunters at all by any means, because hunters go out, they hunt, and they consume their quarry. I mean, that's the whole thing about hunting. Carp bow hunters, or bow fishing, whatever they want to call it, not so much. It's a numbers game. They have no maximum limits. They, in a lot of cases, will leave the carcasses right there. We have seen witness to that. But they just, they kill at will. And so anybody who's really serious about carp fishing is totally dead set against that. So having said that, you can see the conflicts that I'm leading up to with this whole thing. But I just wanted to make that perfectly clear on who initiated it and who should be getting all the thanks for the 3, not 2. We went for 2, but we got 3 rod ruling on carp fishing.
A bonus rod. We got Nick, you put up a question from John Horth earlier there. Anyone know if 2 rods per person in a boat in the Niagara River Upper Niagara River is allowed? And I believe it would not be allowed, John, only because if you were in that sense, Lake Erie, I believe you're allowed to run 2 rods. Right, Ange, in the Great Lakes, you're allowed 2 rods in a boat?
I can tell you definitively that they are not allowed.
Yeah, so in the river yourself, you're not allowed. In the Lake Erie, you would be allowed to do that. Lake Ontario on the lower, you'd have to be out in the main lake to be able to run the 2 rods per person.
And in the regulations, they actually show you what is considered lake and what is considered river mouth and what is considered river.
There you go.
And if I'm not mistaken, now this one I could be wrong, I believe it has to be in the lake proper. So you cannot use multi-rods even in river mouths, which are clearly outlined in the zoning definitions.
In the regs, yeah. And remember too that there's 3 people are going to try and take advantage. They might want to think, well, maybe we can use 3 rods off a boat on the Great Lakes for carp. Well, you can't. You can run 2 rods if you were fishing out of a boat for carp, which I don't know how you'd do it. It'd be pretty tough, but you could still do it. Ange did a show once on Race Lake out of a boat, but you could run 2 per person, but you cannot run 3 per person in the boat and in the Great Lakes for carp. So.
Yeah, and I think all these things are about to change with carp. What's exciting about here's how I feel about carp fishing. To me, this is the late 70s, early 80s in this part of the world in terms of bass fishing. That's where we were back then. Is where we are right now with carp. And it was such an exciting time to be an angler when bass fishing was just starting to get under our skin, and we were so much into it. Not that we're not now, but back then we didn't know anything about it. Nobody did. Everything was new. Every pattern, every location, everything you did was brand new and you were pioneering. Well, that's the way we feel about carp fishing right now. It is such an exciting time to go after carp. It is unbelievable. This is going to be a great year. The only travesty to this whole thing, of course, is that COVID has shut down, not COVID, but yeah, COVID, I guess you could say, has shut down the Fishing Canada Carp Cup, which was in its 3rd year before COVID hit. Can you imagine the Carp Cup now, Pete? It's going to be bad.
They're going to have 6 rods per setup. Per oh my God, that's going to be. No, they can't. Can they? Yeah, they can. Yeah, that's right too. They're going to be a little bit crazy. It'll be nuts. They're going to have a lot of water to cover. There's going to be a lot of fish to be brought in. Because you remember very quickly, the two guys from Quebec there on that roadside stop, and they were constantly with 2 rods. They had to take 1 rod out half the time. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the first time that those 6 rods were out and it gets mayhem? Oh my God, it would be crazy. Hey, changing the subject because we got to move on here.
Hang on. Before you go, let's just deal with this one because I find this interesting. It says largest carp I've ever caught came from the Spanish River off the North Channel.
Wow, that's cool.
I did not know there were carp in the Spanish River. Did you?
Well, that's Lake Huron, is it not, or is it?
Yeah, but up the river, I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, if they're in the Great Lake and they're in that lake, they're going to be in that river, right? Carp are prolific. They're movers for sure, and they're looking for warmer water probably too. The lake is very cold, so they probably move into that. But that's great. I'd like to know how, Jeffrey, if you can write down how big that carp was. It'd be nice to know how big they get up there too compared to our Lake Ontario, because our Lake Ontario carp are ridiculous big. Like, I mean, you're talking lots of 35 to 40 pounders, lots of them, and then bigger, obviously.
I think we're going to start seeing 40s consistently, and I think before long, because there's so many people going to be fishing them, and of course with the 3 rod limit, that ups the ante. I think we're going to start looking at 50s.
Oh, there's no doubt there's going to be 50s caught for sure. That day Len and I went out, what year did you say that was? 2008, whatever it was, or 90? It was ridiculous. It was so long ago. We got a 35 that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're getting bigger all the time. What I was going to say is if you go to look at our new store that people were buying the swag from, we actually took it down. We didn't like the way everybody was getting gouged. I guess you call it gouged for the shipping, all the extra fees. And then, people might have thought we were getting the money. We were not getting the money. We were getting very little of that money for all this stuff. And it was too expensive. We talked to so many people, and even though they bought stuff, they all sort of said their piece. And so we thought, you know what, we're going to find a better way of doing this if we can. And we're not going to get everybody disappointed in getting gouged. So
and we wanted to gauge the marketplace too and get a feel for what was viable, what's not viable, what do people want, what they don't want. And we want to thank all of you who participated and used it. We got a lot of information that we are now going to use moving forward and designing and building our own in-house store. We're going to source the products out directly ourselves, and we're going to ship them ourselves, and it'll be a perfect world at some point, very soon probably, but we can't give any more detail than that.
Yep. So
you want to go to the Garmin piece first before we go any further, or yeah, let's go to the Garmin. Just before we went on air today, we got a last-minute email from Uncle Jack at Radio World, because they're hooked up with Garmin, as you know. They're the largest Garmin retailer in the nation, one of the largest in North America. But Jack just gave me the heads up that, in fact, Garmin just announced, and I'm assuming it happened hours ago, that they have teamed up with Mercury Marine. And so now it's possible to use all of the benefits from the Mercury Smart Gauge program and package that most of you are familiar with that know about Merc. It now plugs right into the Garmin units. So all of that data and information now you can migrate over to Garmin, and the two will work in unison. So things like speed, temperature, all that real cool information will be in your Garmin unit, which is going to be fantastic.
I was telling Ange Ange just told me the news, and I was telling him I just saw a thing on I think it was the last BASS tournament that was run, and a guy was, a lot of these tournament guys, they have to gauge their distance and when they're going to refuel, et cetera, et cetera. They said that this stuff is getting so accurate now that you can go down to the 1/10 of a gallon and be very, very confident that, if it says 0.5 left in your tank to get back to the weigh-in and you have 0.75, don't worry about it, because you're going to be there. You're going to be good. It's that accurate. Apparently it's dead on. So that's so cool to see, and some people might not care about it. Yeah, it's not for everybody, but you know what? Just to have, your temperature, everything, temperature of your motor out in front of you, because you might not ever look at that little old gauge that you had before, if you have a gauge at all for your temperature. The stuff is right there. If you want to just hit one screen, it's got all your stuff. So we'll try and do something on that when we learn a little more about it. Maybe when we hook our rig up to it, and we'll give a report.
Interesting question from Bob Devine. He's saying, "What do you think?"
Hey, Bobby, how are you, buddy?
Should we leave you two alone for a minute or what?
Bobby Wine is a guide on the Detroit River, and he's an awesome stick. The guy can catch him, and he can put you on to fish, just to let you know.
He wants to know what we think of the 2 Michigan charter boats that got fined recently on the Detroit. They were working in Ontario waters during closed border.
Ooh, I didn't hear about this, but that's a good one. So, I mean, they got charged for crossing the border, I'm assuming, right?
I have to assume that. I mean, the border is the border. Whether it's in water, on land, it's the border. So any rules that apply to border crossing on land apply to water. So
it's a joke, Bobby, right now, because people are flying from Florida to Buffalo, and then either walking across the bridge or taking an Uber across the bridge and getting across. So it's a joke at the border crossings right now. So I don't know what to say on that one.
I know what to say. Don't get me started on that topic. I have a thing about borders, and right now, for sure.
Thanks, Bob.
And people coming across them.
Yeah.
Richard says, thank you so much for the new store. I do want your products, but it was the U.S. exchange and shipping charges that kept me from ordering. Perfect, which we now know the majority of you feel that way. Post the address to the new store, and we'll see what we can do. When will you be having a new photo caption contest? Okay, we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. We got a ton of stuff to go through. Before we do that, we've got a couple more announcements we have to get through. Not announcements, just news releases that we think is important that we talk about. There will be a story that is either on our site right now or will be coming out very shortly. It's about a new bass fishing game that is being developed as we speak. It'll be available to us sometime this fall, I'm told. And it's called Bassmasters 2022. And from all accounts, from what I have seen, this is going to knock the socks off of any gamers. Even if you're not into fishing, gamers are going to be on this thing on Steam or whatever other means you have of playing your games. This thing is going to be crazy. And what I really love about it is that they've taken, Pete and I have talked, how long have we been talking about this concept, Peter?
Oh my God. How many years, right?
I'm going to say 10 years ago it started.
Yeah.
That we said, if we could just come up with a way of replicating real lakes and real fishing patterns on real lakes based on the current weather at the real current weather at that time. Can you imagine?
Yeah, you forgot. We had to come up with a few $1 million too. But
I don't want to, make myself look like I'm financially challenged or anything, but we're a little short on that. But it's okay. So we talked about this. How at the time we were even talking to Roland Martin about it because, as you know or may not know, Roland and a couple of other, I think Jimmy Houston was involved too. 30 years ago, came out with this Bastronic, which was a little handheld computer.
I remember that thing.
Remember that thing? That was so cool. And anyway, so we talked to him about the idea, and he said, "Wow, that'd be a great idea because it would be alive, right? You could actually, plug it into the current barometric pressure systems in various parts of the country, and weather patterns, and seasonality, and fish behavior because of water levels." Like, he just went on and he was right. It would have been fantastic. Well, I think that's about to happen. And I'm really excited. I'm not a gamer by any means, but I want to see this in action. So keep an eye out for it. The full story is on fishingcanada.com or will be there.
Jordan just put it up. It's over in the comments there. There's the link in the comments, guys.
Oh, perfect.
So
it's up. Read it and go to the links and read the full story.
Hey, here's one for you. Do you think Nick, Hunter, or Cole will play that game?
Well, let's ask Nick. Nick, will you play that game? Where are you, Nick?
I'm right here.
Okay.
And maybe it sounds cool. I'll check it out for sure.
I think you'll be all over it. I think it's going to be fantastic when it comes out. By the way, that's Nikki V behind the scenes running the show. Jordan, where are you, Jordan? Say hello.
Jordan's hiding.
Oh, he's hiding.
He's incognito.
He's having a bad hair day today.
I thought he looked rather handsome.
I thought so too, but apparently not. What do we know?
Hockey at Cardboard
have a
asked you a
camera.
question about
Jordan doesn't.
bass lures.
Hockey on cardboard. What do you think is the best lure to use for catching largemouth bass that does not include using real bait like worms or minnows? Oh, mackerel.
That was a good one.
That's another show.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Hockey. There, go to fishingcanada.com. Hit on Angela, My Outdoor Life. Angelo did a blog in there on the what's it called? Bass Smart, I think it's called.
That's smart.
It's a 3-part article. It's got everything in there you would probably be able to learn and then some. So
For sure, including baits. There's a whole, I
Yeah.
think it's part 1, 2, and 3, and I think
Yeah.
part 2 deals exclusively with bass baits. It's a very interesting read.
Yeah.
And we'll answer any questions that you have about baits. As far as, personal preference, if you're asking that, for myself, topwater baits definitely the most exciting way to fish for bass. Largemouth or smallmouth, it doesn't really matter. So either one's fine.
I agree on that. Top water is very fun to fish. The limited top water that I have done for fishing for bass, it's definitely the most exciting because you get to see it strike right there on the water. It's crazy.
Nothing more exciting than a topwater hit. Whether you get the fish or not is kind of irrelevant. It's just that.
Yeah, the explosion.
What else?
There's the link, guys and girls over on the right-hand side there. You'll see.
It's in the comments. I don't know if it's on the right hand for them, Pete, but it's definitely in the comments for you guys if you want to check out the link to the article, or you can go into the Fishing Canada website. It should be in the recent news and/or blogs. And
Also,
you guys
it's called Bass Fishing 101, Bass Smart, part 1, 2,
Yes,
and
it
3.
is.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And I'll leave you guys with this before I go back to my stream running
Yes.
from Delaney.
Okay.
Hey, we're heading to Garnham Lake with.
Oh.
There you go, Pete.
Well, I'll tell you what, Delaney, I didn't do much walleye fishing there. As a matter of fact, I didn't do any targeted walleye fishing there because the pike are so damn big there. I only had a day, and I went in, and to this day right now, that is the single best pike fishing in a single day that I've had anywhere by myself. Ange and I had some other stuff that we've done, a couple other trips. But this one little trip that I got to fly in for the day and fly out for the day on an Ontario lake that's not that far north, best pike fishing I've had. They were
White River Air, I believe.
White River Air, yep. It's on our website. The episode is called Scarback. I believe it's called Scarback.
Yeah.
And but I will say that the guys that were in there in the camp were catching giant walleye. I mean, giants for Northern Ontario. A big fish is over 5 pounds. They were catching 6 and 7 pounders. So they are giants for up there. And this is not a very big lake, long, skinny lake. Really cool piece of water. Can't give you tips on the walleye, but I can guarantee you there's some big ones in there. And I would say use bigger baits, a little bit bigger, even if it's in May, end of May. Go a little bit bigger in your bait selection. How's that?
And by doing that, you're going to get some bonus giant gators too. So.
Exactly. So very cool lake. Very neat. White River Air, awesome group.
All right. I think we got everything covered that we need to cover before we start talking about what we need to talk about. How's that?
Yeah. Wow. Well, you ever suck up some time there, Viola?
Well, I didn't mean to, but hey, you know what? That's the bonus of being able to run this thing the way you want to do it, right?
It is what it is.
Don't forget to support our stream by liking or commenting. We want to hear from you all the time. If we don't get to you live here, we'll get to at some point. So there's never a question that should not be asked. Feel free, for sure.
And we're working on that too. As a matter of fact, we came up with a new idea for the website and that. Any question you ever have, that be ready for that one. You're going to see that come out on the website where we're going to really dig into some of your questions. We're going to have some fun with it. So
let's not ignore the fact that we did have a question that I said we'll get to it a little later on. This is probably a good time to do it. They want to know about the captioning contest, Peter.
Oh yeah, we got another one it's in the queue right now, ready to go on the site. It's a matter of when they get. See, the problem we're having right now, again, as Ange said at first, we're having a lot of website issues. We just changed over to a new company. It's all it's all new to both of us, to them and to us, you know what I mean? So we're ironing out all the little bugs, and once we get all that ironed out, we want to make it as smooth as possible for everybody else. But we have many pictures already ready to go for the caption contest, so it's going to be coming out hopefully this week, next week is what we're hoping for. So, and thank you for the participation in that. That was a lot of fun. Ange and I had a riot reading those off, so that was cool. We were looking forward to the next one. So
we got to do something with the each of the winning entries. We got to do something special, and I promise we will. I don't know what yet, but each one of the winners for each one of the captioning contests, we're going to do something really special with it for sure. So I know you're getting a hat. An autographed hat, which is very cool, but we're going to do something even more special than that. All right, so let's talk about why we're here today. The Great Ontario Getaway Giveaway, arguably the largest contest of its kind ever. And I mean that, ever to hit the outdoors. We'll be giving away $100,000 worth of free adventures into Northern Ontario. Never been done before. Sure, everybody's given away a trip. We have. Everybody has. Never before has this amount of money been dedicated to a contest solely for the purpose of giving away outdoor adventures. So the importance of this thing is not the fact that we're giving away, although it is important, we're giving away $100,000 worth of trips into Northern Ontario. The importance is that that $100,000 makes its way right back into the pockets of the people who need it most right now. And that is the folks who run these businesses. Some of them are 3-4 generations of ownership in these businesses. We mentioned one just a few moments ago, White River Air, which they've been around, I think this is generation 3, maybe pushing 4. So we thought we'd put together a contest with Destination Ontario, Destination Northern Ontario, and Noto, whereby we could not only have this crazy contest to give away $100,000 worth of travel into Northern Ontario, but somehow have the value of those trips, the actual money that those trips are worth, make their way back to the lodge owners. And that's what the Great Ontario Getaway Giveaway is. So it's a win-win-win situation, because every lodge owner that is randomly drawn to be hooked up with one of the 50+ winners is going to get paid for that trip in full at their rate card value. So it's I mean, we're thrilled to death to be a part of this thing.
I'm looking at a comment, and I'm going to interrupt you because this is important right here. I'd love to go on a fly-in trip. Everybody would love to do that. But Jay, just let us tell you, it's not just fly-in trips. This is what everybody thinks these lodges are, but there's many lodges that you can drive to, that you can pull your boat to and drive to. There's lodges that you can take a train into only. There's lodges where you go to a landing area and then they come and pick you up with a boat and they take you out with a boat. There's actually lodges with houseboats. You go to the main building or main area and then they go out on a houseboat. So there's all kinds of trips. It's just, we don't want to fool anybody to think it is just fly-in trips. That's not what this is about. This is about the all-around package, the all-around experience. So there you go. Sorry.
Some of the most wonderful experiences that Pete and I have had the tremendous fortune to have been a part of. In fact, we're not even fly-ins. They were drive-tos. Yep. Some of our best trips are drive-tos. So don't discount the value of drive-tos, because they can be absolutely wonderful. But these trips will be a little bit of everything. And the way it works, just so that we have it perfectly clear. So we have hundreds of lodges that are in a virtual drum. These are all the participating lodges that will be in the contest. They're in a drum. At the end of each month, of which there are 5 months in this contest, at the end of each month, we will announce the 5 winners. Now, these winners were not random. These winners they earned their victory. They earned it by posting an image and a story on fishingcanada.com that garnered votes. People read the story, they saw the picture, or they were solicited to do so by the contestant who entered to go and vote for them. And they accumulate votes over the course of that 30-day period. The 5 largest vote getters automatically win that month. So we will live here on the show, we'll take those 5 winners and we will draw out of the virtual drum where all of the lodges live right now. And we will couple them up with all these 5 winners. So it's truly going to be a win-win because any one of these lodge owners who submitted it's participated in the event by submitting a package could win. And poof, you're hooked up, and now you start communicating with the lodge owner and put together your trip of a lifetime. So that's the way it works. However, people are saying, well, how does it work though? Why should I be voting? And more importantly, why should I vote for somebody other than myself? Because we encourage people, even the contestants, to vote for others. And maybe, Pete, you could explain this part of it.
Boy, you went right off the track, didn't you? Right off the plan, didn't you? Okay. Well, since Angela went off the plan, I'm going to address that one first off. So,
right.
So you definitely want votes for yourself in that portion of this contest, and one of those 5 of the first 5 events of this contest. But that's not the only 5 events of this contest. There's one of the final at the end for all people who have not won yet. So every vote that you submit, so if you submit a vote for yourself every day, which you're allowed to do, all those votes, plus all the votes that you get coming in, or all the votes that you vote for somebody else, your opponents, your whoever it is like that, all those votes at the end turn into ballots. And then all of a sudden, now you have accumulated a bunch of ballots versus a ballot a day. You could get 5 a day if you want, right? You know what I mean? So now these ballots you have in the drum, and those last, whatever trips are remaining in the sense of the money that's left over for the lodges, they're all getting drawn as ballots, and there's a winner right there. There's a winner right there. Hopefully we have a bunch of those too. So it helps to have votes because it turns to ballots. Simple as that.
So Richard Corkum, who's very active on our site, and he's in the contest as well, he's got this question. Is it fair for a single person with not many friends who can only vote once a day for themselves compared to a husband, a wife with 14 children voting for each other every day?
It's a busy family right there. Speaking of 14 children, look at this.
If you have 14 children, I think you deserve a week getaway to a lodge for free. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well,
2 step-siblings, there's 3 kids, and I'm the oldest. It's enough for me, and I'm not even a parent. 14, I think you're good to go.
Very well put. Thank you, Nick. So to answer your point there, your comment, Richard, keep in mind that final element that Pete just talked about, the 6th element, if you will, is all about random luck. And all it takes is one of those ballots that came from your voting activities to be drawn. It's that easy. And it's strictly random. It'll be luck. It's a virtual draw. So yeah, the more of those you have in there, the better your chances, I agree. But at the end of the day, it only takes one. I mean, listen, we've given away stuff over the last couple of years to people who didn't have very many ballots in the box, and they won because it's random. So I would rather have more of those ballots in there if it was me, but I just want to tell you it only takes one to win. So there you go.
Hopefully that was explained well enough.
Well, now we're going to go through the frequently asked questions about the contest. We're going to try and deal with each one now that I've gone off track, and Peter has so graciously and elegantly brought me back. So here we go.
By the way, before you do this, it is now available. If you hit the contest page on fishingcanada.com, there's a little button there. You could actually follow along with what we're reading right now. Apparently Jordan put that up there today. So,
well, look at us.
Yes, Bobby Dazzler 1 and 2. Bobby and Billy Dazzler.
So what you will see if you push the FAQs is that question number 1, the most asked question that we have right now is, I'm having issues registering my account. What do I do? This question's a little bit tricky to answer. when we're not able to see exactly what it is that you're doing. And each one of us, I'm the worst at these, by the way. So I should be the last one talking right now, but I've got it all scripted for me. So hopefully I'll answer it correctly. First and foremost, to make sure that you have filled in every field before you submit. You know, the fields, it says first name, last name, address, all of that stuff. Postal code is one that gets forgotten all the time.
Not just that, the postal code, if you put the dash in there and it doesn't want a dash, if you don't put the dash in there and it wants a dash, like, I mean, how many times have you done that? I've done it all the time. Then all of a sudden, there's an error here. Oh, back. Oh, there's an error. Oh, it's easy to do, folks. Everybody does it. I mean, if you were just to take your time and read every one of them out and try, I mean, maybe you could do it. But I mean, sometimes they want spaces in a phone number. Sometimes they don't want spaces in a phone number. You know what I mean? So it's deadly, man. I'll tell you. Here it comes. What do you want now?
What do I want now is I want to let everyone know if you've previously accepted the terms and conditions to the contest. This happened to me personally, so I can vouch that happens. You have to go back into the update your profile and re-click it. It, for whatever reason, has a habit of unclicking it for a lot of people. It happened to me just today. Every time we kind of update the website, it's going to unclick it for whatever reason. So make sure you guys go back into your profile, into the update, re-click. Because when you guys email, I'll respond to them, but it's most likely going to be as simple as make sure you just go back and click one extra button.
Perfect.
You'll save a couple hours and everything will go by a lot quicker. So I just want to put that out there because I forgot to tell you guys about that.
Thanks, Nick. Because the site is getting changed and updated every day, like Ange and I were saying. This is a new site, and Ange and I did a bunch of posts yesterday, and they got taken down overnight, and we had to repost again today. So we're all fighting this right now. We apologize for it, but it's a learning process. We got a new company, so hopefully it'll get all smooth out here in a second. So very soon.
And they're working night and day, so don't think that any of us are taking this lightly. We're working night and day to try and get this thing resolved because it's very important to us, and we know it's important to you as well. Be sure that you don't already have an account associated with the email that you're attempting to register. So some people have been on this web fishingcanada.com site for years and have sort of come and gone. And sometimes you forget. I know I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I forget I already had an account, but I forgot about it, let alone remember what my username and my password were. Forget that. That's a foregone conclusion. I forgot that from a week ago, but I've forgotten that I already had an account here. So now when I'm trying to open what I think is a brand new account, the system is telling me, hey, there's something wrong here. And so far what we've noticed is that people already had an account with that username and or password. So those are causing problems right now. The best way to get around that one, to be very honest with you, is to send any information that you can to support@fishingcanada.com or info@fishingcanada.com, either one. I don't know why we would have two, but support is probably the best way to go. Support@fishingcanada.com and let them know. And then what they'll do is to actually go through the system and see if you did have a previous account, in which case they'll either notify you or reinstall that particular account or suggest that you start a new one. Whatever the case is, support@fishingcanada.com is the best place to go when you're in trouble. And I know that a lot of you are doing that and working your way through with them. Be patient. They're doing a great job. But there's a lot of you that are having issues, and it's not all of them are not necessarily your fault. A lot of them. So when you couple the fact that we're asking you to do things that you're probably not comfortable with or familiar with doing, along with the fact that there are bugs in our system because we're trying to migrate two totally separate standalone units together, you can understand it causes problems. So bear with us on that. If you're still having issues, once again, go to support@fishingcanada.com and those will be remembered. How about the second one on this list, Pete?
Wait. Before you do that, there's something on there on the list that says if you know how to take a screenshot. That would really help us resolve your problem, because if you can take a shot of what you're looking at, the problem, and send it to our team, they will see that right then and there and say, wow. I mean, we do that all the time. We did it with Garmin this week. Angela and I did it with Garmin this week to Garmin Express, the program. So, and I don't know if you know how to take a screenshot, it's pretty easy. I'll give you a real quick tutorial on this. You can, if your keyboard has it on a PC, it might have a function and then print screen, I think it's called. You push those together and it gives you it takes an image of your whole screen. Or you can actually take, there you go, the snipping tool. You go down to the bottom search bar, there's a snipping tool. The easiest way to do it on a PC is to hit the Windows key. It's all on the left-hand side, that little Windows, that crazy looking thing. Windows key, Shift key, and S together. Boom, boom, boom. And your screen's going to go dark, and you're going to have a little crosshairs that come up, and you just do a little, you just draw around the spot, take it off, let your finger off, and it takes a picture. And then you can do whatever you want with it. With and with a Mac, there's the same thing. I think it's Alt-Shift 4, something like that. You can look it all up on Google. With your phone, just push your 2 buttons together, pop, pop, and you'll get a screenshot with that with your phone too. So, and then if you send that to either info, one of the addresses there, the boys will see that, and it's really, really, really helpful when we can see exactly the problem. It helps so much. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing.
Well, it's all confusing to people like me. So you're hoping or not hoping, it's confusing. William Wagner wants to know, do you have to be a resident of Canada? We have that as one of our things here, but I'll answer it now. Yes. Absolutely. If you are a U.S. citizen, for example, well, if you're a citizen of any other jurisdiction other than Canada, you cannot enter the contest, unfortunately. So not to say that we will not have similar contests open to U.S. residents in the future. Right now, due to COVID and our border situation, this one is strictly for Canadians. Yeah. Just so that you know. So number 2, the second most frequently made comment about the current problems we're having is, I can't remember my password. Well, I said before, we all have that problem. I have that every day. So obviously you can go to the forgot my password. Yeah. Forgot my password button. That would be the obvious place to go, which is right there on that page. Or once again, if for whatever reason you're not seeing that button, and I don't know why that would happen, but we've had some weird things happen here lately on this site. So I'm not going to rule it out. If you don't see that button that will help you retrieve your password, email support, right?
Take a screenshot of what you have and what you don't have. Then you can show us that you don't have it, and we can see what the problem is. And then make sure you're putting in the proper email or username, and or both. You know what I mean? Whatever you're using there, that has to be correct to the digit, or else it's not going to work for you.
So here's another one. Number 3 most asked is, it says my email is not recognized. So they've gone through and filled in all the fields, and when it comes to their email address, I guess you're getting a message saying that we don't recognize that. That may be a number of things, but the most common would be that you actually don't have an account. You have an account on the website, but you don't have an account in this particular contest. You may have had an account from a previous contest, like the Garmin Panoptics fishing bundle, for example, but you need to enter and open an account on this particular contest. I know that this is all a little bit of an inconvenience to a lot of you who have already said to us, that's it. I'm dropping you guys like a hot potato. You're way too much. You want too much from me. Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. If you want us to continue bringing you events like this, free of charge, you're going to have to do a little bit of work. I know it's all about me, and look at me, and woe is me. You want me to do a little bit of work. I have to put some sweat equity into it. Yeah, you do. So at the risk of offending some of you, it's pretty simple. If you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and do a little bit of the work, well, you do have the option of going elsewhere. If you want to be a part of this group that is understanding, especially during these difficult times, and you understand that a lot of people, starting from DNO, and NOTO and DO are putting together a wonderful opportunity along with us to give you a chance at $100,000 worth of trips. Yeah, you probably should be prepared to maybe do a little bit of work to get there. One of them is you have to open an account. So
roll up your sleeves and snap some sticks. Thanks, Clay. That's awesome. He wrote earlier,
we don't want to make light of it, though. We don't want to make light of it. It's frustrating. I've been there myself, and it's frustrating as hell. I know, but we're working with you on it. So give our boys a chance, our boys and girls at support@fishingcanada.com to help you. I mean, I shouldn't tell you this, but I have it, on inside information that if you send an email or a message to support saying, guys, I've tried everything, nothing's working, can you please sign me up? They'll do it for you. But I didn't tell you that. All right? Just to let you know.
You just pissed off
Yes.
people.
I didn't say that.
It's okay. You leaked it now. You might as well just tell them. If you guys are having issues setting up an account or updating your account, and you just it's
not you guys, it's you people. There's guys and
people.
girls.
Pete,
hey, come on.
Pete, I've had only 3 coffees today. We're not at peak efficiency.
Sorry, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think you can even say that. Can you say you people?
No, you can't. You have to say you. So when you have to do this, and you,
Pete, you know what? I think I'm gonna unupdate your account.
Everybody.
I'm unfriending you on the community tab.
I'm just thinking of my ladies out there. We have ladies too. Okay, we've had them commenting on the side here, guys.
If anyone's having issues updating or registering, it's more info@fishingcanada. That can help you guys. I go in, I'll make the account. You guys have to send. There's a bunch of things that you guys are gonna have to send me in terms of information, usernames, passwords, age, postal code, location, all that stuff. In an email, you say, hey, I can't get it set up. Help me set it up. Send it. Within the hour, I should have your account all set up with your password, username. You click in, boom, boom, and you're in.
Hey, before you go, thank you, Nick. Before you go away, though, Uncle Jack has a question for you there. He says he's tried to sign up for weeks now. And so in compensation for all that work, he'd like to know if he can have 25 free votes.
Well, Uncle Jack, you should have emailed info@fishingcanada when you're having, or support@fishingcanada when you're having your technical difficulties, and maybe you would have saved a couple weeks and gotten on the train a little earlier, a couple stops before.
There you go.
Jack's on the slow train, obviously.
Angelo sounds a lot like my sergeant at basic training in Canadian Armed Forces. Thanks, Calvin. I always wanted to be one of those sergeants. Hey? And at boot camp, I am.
You'd have never done it because you wouldn't have went through all the work. I know you.
I wouldn't have done
that. You'd try to bypass it. You'd have tried to, you and your brother both, you'd be fighting each other to try and bypass it. Some of you guys would try to snake around it instead of doing all the work. I know you guys.
Anyways, don't take my sternness to heart, guys. I'm just trying to make a point. The point is that, and this is, by the way, let me throw this out to you too, just so that we're on the same page. You think you got a lot of work for this promotion? You should be on this side of the screen. The work that we are putting in this is mind-boggling. I don't know whether, I can honestly tell you, I don't know whether we have ever worked this hard at anything that we have done in our lives. How's that? So whatever pain and suffering you're going through to participate in this contest, multiply it by at least 10, you know what we're going through. So we're working with you on this. We're going to get through. I'm telling you, we're going to be at a point here in a few, hopefully days, maybe a few weeks, where we're going to have all this behind us, and it's going to be running like a well-oiled machine for all of us, and we're going to be having a blast. So hang in there. Don't get disappointed. We don't want you to go away. Didn't mean that. Sorry if I offended anybody. Number 4. Did we get through number 3?
Yes, we did. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Number 4, why can't I upload my photo? That has been a problem. And up until recently, the problem was the size. We could only allow you to upload a tiny little images, 1 megabyte. Which
that's not tiny, but it's still a lot bigger than a camera. Or a phone would take a bigger image than 1 megabyte normally, stuff like that, unless you get it set differently. So yeah, sorry, Ange.
And not everybody is familiar with, compression and all that stuff, which is not the easiest thing to do. So we now have, we had the team work on this last week, I believe, and they now have opened it up so that we have capability to receive 5 megabyte images. And the reason, by the way, it's such an issue is because there isn't just one of you, there's hundreds of you, soon to be thousands of you downloading these images. So you guys can imagine the space that this is all occupying on the hard drives in our server. So we now are capable of receiving images up to 5 megabytes, which is, I think, normal, Pete, for a
I think that's going to be, it's much more reasonable. And we really don't want any images bigger than that. Like Ange just said, our server is not going to be able to handle, images bigger than that sort of thing. So I was looking into it. Now, I mean, if you're a Photoshop user, it's very easy. You have save for web and you can go and work on it that way. And you can look at the megabyte size. I found an app on my phone the other day. It's called Image Size. That's the little icon. I don't know if you probably can't even see that. That guy right there on the left there, the little guy, but I'll hit it and I'll show you and this one's actually pretty good. You can't really see a lot of it, but what it does, I tried it out. You just upload a photo into it and it actually tells you the size of the image. You know what I mean? So it's down to a 3 megabyte or a 2 megabyte. And that's all you have to do is just downsize it, just play around with these little apps, look around, find the app. This is an iPhone app, but I'm sure it's on a Android as well. It's called Image Size, or just any basic image program that works on images, and it should be able to knock you down. You can learn, that's one of the most basic things you'll learn. It's not easy, but it's one of the first things you should learn is the image size of everything at the output, so you can get to us. So.
By the way, can I just answer this? I have to answer this. Gunner Paradise wants to know what's the best place that you've ever fished near Thunder Bay?
I know what you're going to say.
You got, if you haven't already been, it's funny, eh? It's the most obvious but unobvious piece of water close to an urban center I think that I've ever seen in my life. And the locals have got it well guarded in terms of letting people know about it. But you know us, we can't help ourselves. It's called Cloud Lake. And if you look at it, you say, are you kidding me? Like, it's literally, not figuratively, it's literally surrounded coast to coast of this tiny little speck of water, by the way. I don't know how many hundreds of acres it would be, but it's tiny. And the shoreline is end-to-end cottages and homes. So there's no wilderness around this little tiny lake whatsoever. And it's called Cloud Lake. Go check it out. There is, I believe, just one ramp where you could put a boat in. It's public ramp. Great ramp, by the way. Or it was the last time we were there.
Oh, God. That was a long time ago. But I'll tell you what, was that ever a gem that we found there, right? That was one of those gems that you find and said, what? Wait a minute. That's not supposed to be so good, is it? For a fluke?
So there's our little tip of the day for you. I know the folks in Thunder Bay, probably anybody listening from Thunder Bay just said, oh, no. But it is that good. But you know what? Treat it like a self-imposed total catch and release fishery, because it's a very small body of water and it will not support any fish and keep fishery pressure whatsoever. So be responsible. I know most of you are. Just be responsible with it.
They were it was smallmouth and walleye that we got there, and to be honest, we didn't catch eater-sized fish there. Let's just say that if you're eating those fish, you should, shame on you. You should not be. The ones we caught, they were nice. So anyway.
So we already answered this contest is only open to residents of Ontario. Next, number 7 on the list is, why is this contest encouraging travel during a pandemic? Well, we are not encouraging travel during a pandemic, because if you are on the site and you read all the words that are there, you'll see that this contest is not just open for immediate travel. It will not expire. The winners will have an opportunity to use their winnings until the end of 22. We're assuming that by 2022, we will have absolutely no travel restrictions. However, I will tell you this, I'll throw this disclaimer out here. If we do, we're for sure going to see it extending that. But man, I'll tell you, if we're looking to extend fulfillment of this contest beyond 22, we got a lot more serious problems to worry about than whether you can go fishing or not. If you know what I mean, okay? But right now, as it stands, in order for you, if you're fortunate enough to be one of the 50 or 60 winners throughout the course of the 5 months of this contest, you will be put in touch with the lodge operator. And between the two of you, because it depends on which lodge you pick, some lodges may be perfectly fine. They may be open already. However, a lot of lodges will not or are not. So you will be working with the lodge owner to figure out when the best possible time that you can safely, and that's the message here, safely use their product. And I don't think that anybody is going to be trying to force the issue, certainly not from our standpoint. We're just, think of this as a diversion right now, especially for those of us in Ontario who just, got bad news a week ago that we're under complete shutdown again. Think of this as a little diversion. Think of this as a nice little carrot. For those of you who win over the course of for this first contest, which will be over the end of April, think of it as just a great diversion. If you win, think of that. You won. You've got money in the bank. You got money in the bank because you can now have that trip of a lifetime. You can work it out so you can have it whenever over the course of the next 2 seasons. You and the lodge owner are the only two that are going to make that decision. So,
now, by the way, before you can read that question first, go ahead, Ange, but I'm going to just address a question I saw much earlier by somebody, and they said, if I win a trip for 2, can we purchase another ticket? Absolutely. You got to work with the lodge owner on that. So when you win from Lodge A, and it's you and your friend, partner, husband, wife, whatever it is going to be, going to the lodge, and you say, hey, we got another couple that would like to come with us. Can we buy 2 more tickets? If that place has an opening, 2 openings for you, absolutely. That's a great idea to bring a whole group if you want. So now you think about it. Let's just say it was Ange and I won. We were going to go on a trip and we wanted to bring Nick with us. We have to buy a ticket for Nick. Well,
and Jordan, and Jordan, don't forget Jordan.
No, I'd like to make it an odd number. Make it just for now. Well, I'll add Jordan in afterwards. Okay, it could be Jordan, but the 3 of us could pool our money together for that 1 extra ticket. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden you're paying a third of the price for that one person. It's a win-win, really. You know what I mean? So that's
and I'm sure, and this is not the reason, so don't take this wrong. I'm sure that the operator will be more than happy to cut a deal with you at that point too.
Yeah, maybe.
So that you, right? But this is not about cutting deals. Let me make this perfectly clear to everybody. Aside from us having some fun, us being you and ourselves, aside from, amusing ourselves, aside from the great little diversion that this is causing, the underlying reason that this contest is so important is that we're trying to focus on brothers and sisters that own businesses on Northern Ontario primarily that are being completely overlooked and forgotten about right now, who are in dire straits. I mean, I cannot overemphasize this message. They are in dire straits. You think small businesses are feeling the squeeze here in the southern part of the province or any urban areas in Canada? Go talk to some of the people that run businesses in remote parts of the country. You may think that they're having it easy, but they're having it worse than we are. Doesn't take as much to upset their apple cart as it does us down here.
Russell Johnson there. He just said it's for the operators, and that's exactly what this contest is for, people. It's not Ange and Pete getting rich in this contest, not even close to it, okay? This is for the operators to help them survive, for them to get a little chunk of money that they really, really need right now. That's what this contest is all about. I'm going to go to Ken Johnson's question right now about Zone 20 Bay of Quinte walleye. Ken, I don't have the regs in front of me, but the Bay of Quinte walleye always opens on the first Saturday of May. So if May 1 is a Saturday, then that is the opening day. And then the following, rest of Southern Ontario will open the second Saturday, which would be the 7th. So I'm assuming those numbers. Now, unless the regs have changed, so I would definitely go in and look at the Ontario fishing regulations online and make sure of it. But it's always been the first Saturday. I mean, they changed that in Zone 20 for the Bay of Quinte openers, so they get some more business, more people around because the fish spawn earlier, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always been the first Saturday in May. So hopefully that helps.
And it is. I haven't heard anything that would change what Pete just said. It is still May 1st for Bay of Quinte. But once again, just check it out. The regs are there online. It won't take much to find it.
That varies every year, right? That number is not May 1st. It could be May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th. It could be. It's the first Saturday of May. So
Tyler wants to know if there is an outfitter that is sponsoring this that is close to me. Would it be possible to go through them to save on traveling? I don't know whether I understand that or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either.
Tyler, maybe you can be a little more clear on that. I don't understand that. Here
comes the command.
I think what he's saying is that if he wins this and then so let's say he gets picked as one of the top 5 votes, people who won, and then he's on Esnagi Lake and Lodge 88's right there. One of the other lodges are right there. Can he go to one of those ones to save on traveling? I think that's
no.
What?
I think that's the question.
You know what? Up until now, you were doing a great job. Go back. There you go. Go back to your little room. Tyler, be a little more specific. Neither one of us truly understand, nor does Nick truly understand what the question is. So if you can dumb it down for us, that would be much
and better. If it is what Nick said, then no, you're not going. No, you win whatever lodge you win, you go to. That's the case. So
let me tell you one of the disappointments, for us right now is that part of, all the problems that we've had notwithstanding. Because folks, let me explain something to you. We did something totally insane, but then we do this all the time. For those of you who know us and have been with us for a while on this journey, you know that we're a moving target. A lot of things that we do without rhyme or reason. One of the things, against all advice from everybody, one of the things that Pete and I did, we decided that we were going to introduce to you a new platform and a new contest platform all at once. Totally brand new, out of the box, never been used before. We thought, yeah, we're going to introduce both of them at once. So we revamped the old Fishing Canada site, had it back rebuilt. By the way, version 2.0 is coming very soon. It's already on the drawing board. But we decided that we would bring to you a version 1.0 and a brand new concept contest platform that had to be built from scratch, and marry the two and open the door to you all at the same time, with which most people that know the digital world told us and are saying, are you guys insane? So yeah, we're feeling the brunt of that right now, but so what? So what? A few little inconveniences. We're growing together. We're learning and growing on this whole journey together. So that's the problems. But one of the disappointments we're experiencing right now is that we had another element that we wanted to be ready, another functionality of the current platform that we wanted to be ready for right now. And that is the outfitter or lodge page, which would connect you directly with all of the lodges that are in the contest, so that you could be pre-screening and talking to these folks, and maybe, asking them questions about what they're going through. And maybe even some of you who don't want to just rely on winning, but you actually want to book a real honest to goodness vacation for you, the family, friends, whatever the case may be. You can connect with these people and start dialoguing and putting together the possibilities right here on fishingcanada.com. And that was a third element that we were hoping to unveil for you all at the same time with the contest and the new website. I understand from Jordan, it's very close. He's working with the developers every day on it, and we're very close to being able to do that. So once that's up, a lot of the shadows will be removed from the contest, because you'll be able to speak to the people who are participating, the lodge owners. You'll be able to speak to them live on the site and get all sorts of questions answered. Tim White, thanks for supporting our great fishing sport. Don't thank us. Thank you for being a part of it. It's without all of us, and that's the thing we need to remember. Every one of us is a vital part of this whole community. So let's not downplay anybody's importance in all this. All right.
Did you go through how do I enter the contest? You're supposed to do that number one. I know you didn't do that number one. You made a change. So
oh, you did. Yeah, but you did. But okay, let's go over it again because it's very important.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did. But that's all right. Hey, you know what?
The original number 5, right?
The original number 5.
Correct. That's the one.
Go ahead.
How do I enter the contest? Entering a contest is easy. After you're registered an account, just navigate to the contest page and then submit your entry. And if you just follow all the on-screen prompts, you should because the registration is the hardest part. You know what I mean? Getting or the most cumbersome part, I guess, whatever you want to call it. After that, it should get you right through to get in there. So, and then again, if you're having a problem, info@nick.com.
Info at Nick? Oh, here he comes.
Here it comes. Nick, did you see that one there? It says, good. Nick, are you asleep? Tony says, Nick, are you asleep?
Yes, Tony, I'm about halfway there. I'm about halfway there.
Anyway.
Info at Fishing Canada. Don't confuse people, Pete. Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Info at Fishing Canada. So in approximately, what do we got? 9 days, I guess. 9 or 11 days. I think it's the 30th of April. We will be having our first winners announced here. And we're going to take this first month as sort of our trial, because I know a lot of you are not up to speed. And I'll tell you why I know that. Because I would say 75% of you, God bless you, for participating, but 75% of you did not read all the pages in the book. And the reason I know that is because your stories have nothing to do with the subject matter that we asked for, and your images have nothing to do with that subject matter. So one thing that's not here that Jordan did not give us, Pete, is that information on the theme for each month on this contest will be changing. So right now, this current theme is how does the outdoors, or what part does the outdoors play in your living with this pandemic? How has the outdoors helped you get through this pandemic? That's the theme for this particular element of the contest, element being this month's contest. So what we expected, and some of you have done a great job, by the way, but most of you have missed it. We expected to hear stuff like, well, during the pandemic, I started going out for walks every night, a little farther than I normally do, because I find that being out there helps me, get rid of all the tension and grief that this pandemic has brought onto me. And that's just a simple sort of way to look at it. But whatever it is that you're doing in the outdoors, and the outdoors doesn't have to be climbing Mount Everest, by the way. It's outside. Whatever you're doing to help you through these difficult times that is connected to the outdoors, that's the story we want to hear. And if we can have an image that associates you with that story, that's fantastic. The reason that's important is because you are relying on votes. A lot of you have submitted your story, which is not connected to the theme, submitted your image, which is not connected to you, and now you're waiting to win. Unfortunately, you're not going to win because you need to garner votes. The 5 winners in less than 7 days, 8 days away, whatever that is, those 5 winners have got votes. They've got the largest number of votes out of all the contestants so far, the top 5 are going to win because they got it. They understood that the only way to make this thing work is to sell themselves to their own circle of people. You know, earlier on we had somebody saying, well, it's not fair. Somebody has 14 children. Absolutely, it's not fair. If you want to look at fair, winning or losing, you have to connect with people in order to win this contest. You have to have the ability to garner votes, both family, friends, or inner circle, or strangers. The way you're going to get them from strangers is to have a very compelling image and story that connects with the theme. So just entering and sitting back, I can tell you right now, I don't want to disappoint you, but you're not going to win anything. Having said all of that, and I was telling Pete this the other day, you know what? This could still be won at the last moment by somebody getting it and understanding the importance of drawing people to themselves on this contest. It could still be won by anybody. So it's not won by any means right now. There. Did I miss anything?
No, except for Nancy. Nancy's asking a question that sort of coincides with the themes, et cetera, et cetera. Nancy says, if my submission doesn't win in the first draw, will it automatically be in the following draws? No, Nancy. These are all individual contests, basically 5 individual contests. You start from 0 again. You will go and you will look at the new theme, and then you will submit your picture and your story as per the new theme, and you will start again. Those 5 winners from before are out. They're out of the next contest, the remaining, then the next 5, the next 5, and the next 5. So go ahead, Nancy.
However, Nancy, the answer is yes. So Pete answered it as a no.
Right.
But I'm going to answer it as a yes. And I'll tell you why. Because all of the votes that you garnered, including the votes that you cast for other people, at the end of this first month, those are turned into ballots that go into a virtual drum. Because when this contest is all over in 5 months, we're going to have random draws for additional winners. And those random draws will be based on ballots that are in the drum. And how you get ballots in the drum is by participating in this contest. So every vote that you, of which you're allowed 5 a day, every vote that you cast, every vote that you have drawn is a ballot. So the answer to your question was yes and no. Yes, at the end of each month, we're going to reset everything back to 0, meaning that each monthly contest stands on its own because it's a new theme. So you have to put in a new story and a new picture, and you have to go to your circle of influence and get those voters to come back and try again, right? However, all of your efforts are not lost for that month that you didn't win, because all of those efforts turn into ballots for you and the people that voted for you. So there's 2 parts to this.
And guys, don't forget, like the last the contest we did with the boat motor trailer was like what 4.5 million entries into it, and someone with 20 some odd entries won it. So you could literally vote one single time, and you are still very much so in the running to win the trip. So just don't discredit the power of chance with this one, because the odds are in everyone's favor.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Ange answered Tony's question in that last little bit, Tony. I'm sure he answered it with like that. And going back to the previous question, she asked about the submission. So the submission is different than a vote. Just keep that in mind. That's all.
I see a question there. Who was it from? From Jim Lemon. Can we see how many votes we are getting? The answer is no. The answer is no. And I'll tell you why it's no. Because, and by the way, I wanted that answer to be yes when we were sitting down with the developers of this event and all the people involved. We had several meetings on ideas that we all wanted to see in the design of this contest. And I was all for having the votes up on the screen every day. And I was outgunned by everybody saying no. And now I see why, and I agree with them 100%, because for people who don't get it, it's going to be discouragement for them if they see that they're way behind for that particular month, and they'll quit working. And so I think it's important that we don't show them, because that one, think about it, that one vote, Nick just said all it takes is one. Well, that one vote that you got on day 13, because you actually reached out to somebody and said, hey, would you mind going to and voting for me on the contest? Or not just reaching out, you might have done it internally here on our social media kind of setup that we've got, that page where all of you have got a profile and stuff. You might have reached out to one of the other contestants and said, hey, would you mind voting for me? But that one vote that you got by doing that might be the one that's picked with your name on it out of the drum randomly after the contest is all over. So we don't want to discourage you from possibly getting that one vote. So we're not going to tell you right now. We're not going to tell you and show you the standings. We will at the end of each month. We may post the top 5 that actually won, so you see what sort of numbers they had, but we'll definitely not open everything up so you can see. You want to see how many votes you had? Win it. How's that? You want to see how many votes you garnered? Win the event. Win one of the monthly events, and you'll see what you did. How's that?
Oh my.
What other questions that we have about that? So
we covered a lot of it.
Yeah, I guess what's important to say is that it's never over, and this first month is a learning lesson for all of us. The winners will be thrilled to death that they won, and they took advantage of the fact that a lot of people were sleeping at or didn't know all of the do's and don'ts. I shouldn't say sleeping at the helm, but they didn't know exactly how to win. Now I think you do. The site is a little easier to use. I think we have all the information we talked about today is available on the site. You just have to dig around for it. It's running a lot smoother now. Don't forget the social element to it. By opening your account, you're also, as you probably know by now, for those of you who are on it every day, all of a sudden you're starting to see a community building with other people that you can interact with and ask questions of, and compare notes and see how they're doing. Keep in mind, one of the questions we got initially is, why would I want to vote for anybody else? I can go on the site and vote for myself, but why would I want to cast? Because you can only vote for yourself once a day. That's the important thing. You have 5 votes that you can cast, but only one of them can be for you. So the question was, well, why in the world would I want to vote for one of the other contestants? Isn't that, a contradiction? Isn't that going against what this is all about? And the answer is no. Quite the opposite, actually. If you did nothing else but go on the contest site and cast those 5 votes every single day between now and the end of the contest, I can't do the math right now, but I would say that you're going to have enough entries in the ballot box, the virtual drum, you're going to stand a pretty good chance of being drawn in the extra trips that we're giving away after the 5 months are done. If you don't have a ton of ballots in there, yeah, it only takes one, you're right, but I'd rather have a few hundred in there and have one of those few hundred be the one than just having one. So if you need something edited on the entry, such as grammar or a typo, contact Fishery. Yeah, they're answering you this because a lot of people said that they made errors or mistakes. They wanted to change their story, for example, and the system will not allow you to do that. So those of you who just understood the contest now, unfortunately, and Jordan, please correct me, or Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, they cannot go in now and change their storyline, correct?
No, once you submit your story, and it's going to be about walking in the park to help with COVID, it wouldn't be fair if we went in and then changed that, because then people didn't vote for that story, they vote for different stories. So then it's almost like you're entering twice, but carrying over the same votes.
Yeah.
So
that
would be a little sketchy, a little fishy even.
So the answer is no, you can't go in and make changes now. Write it out. Get ballots in the box. because those are going to turn to votes. So get in there every day and cast your 5 votes. Just because you don't think you're going to win based on your story and your image, now you get it, you understand. So you're prepared for the next contest that will launch immediately after this one closes, which will be on the 1st of May. The new one will start. And it's all going to start, I think it's at noon on the 1st of May or 3, one of the two. We'll post it, obviously. But at that time, you'll know what the storyline is going to be. All of you will know at the same time. So you'll all have the same opportunity then, because now everybody understands. The 5 winners from this month are no longer eligible to be in the contest. So we don't have to worry about them anymore, right? So it'll be a lot easier to deal with. By the 2nd and 3rd month, we'll all be pros at this. And, you know, at the end of the day, once again, it's about the lodge owners. In the meantime, I suggest that anything that you can do to either communicate messages to and or even do business with lodge operators in certainly the ones that are in this contest, and even if they're not, this is open to all lodge operations in Ontario, by the way. They were all given the same opportunities, and not all of them have responded. They are more and more responding every day, but you know, some of them will not be in this contest. I don't want to make any assumptions here that every one of them will, because a lot of them just won't. It doesn't mean that we can't support them, right? We right now need to support these families, these businesses, these entrepreneurs. They're the pillar of our, in fact, they're our identity. Globally, we're known as this vast last frontier, this wilderness area, and you know, people would die to come over here and visit us because of what we have. Well, you know what? The people that painted that image of us globally are the people that we're talking about, the operators, the outfitters, people who run these wilderness operations. They're the ones who have given us this image of the last bastion of outdoors. And right now, they need our help. They're hurting like never before. Pete and I have been in this business for 40 years. And let me tell you, this has never happened before. It's unprecedented, the way it is for every business probably. So they need our help. Anything we can do to help them is on the table. As
we talked to a couple of lodges this week, and they said, yeah, we didn't even open up at all this whole, you know, that whole season last year, 0 renovations. Some of them took the time to do renovations, but then they put another $100,000 into their lodges. You know what I mean? So that's making it even tougher for them to recoup that kind of money. So it's very. I want to go back quickly to before Angelo's extended tangent there again about when we were talking about the submissions. Just take your time to write your story out. Think about what you're writing your story out. Take your time. Use a spell checker. If you're worried about spelling and it's, you know, oh, damn, I see it looks like I did a real dumb job there. Put it in a word processor or a Microsoft Word or something like that, Pages on Mac. And take your time and write out the story and make a nice image and just do it that way. Then when you submit it, when you push the submit button, I read it over a few times. Good, I like that. It's simple. You got to think that way. I mean, I get writing down stuff quickly it's so much easier and more convenient. But when Ange and I are writing these blogs and articles and all that stuff, I read it 2 or 3 times, send it to him, he reads it 2 or 3 times, send it back to each other. Okay, look, you know, and we're finding mistakes all the time and stuff. So it happens. Just take your time, read it over, have your spouse read it over, your fishing buddy, whatever, and then put it in. So.
By the way, apparently Tony Schulis thinks you need a beer. You look a little laid back there.
Tony, you are one wise feller, okay, right there. I think that you're absolutely right. And a beer would be, if I had a beer fridge right here, it'd be open right now.
I'm getting some breaking, carry on, Peter. I'm getting some breaking news coming in here. I always love these little tidbits of information. Thank you.
Wow. Come on. I can't wait. I'm in anticipation. I will be vaccinated. This is from Doug. I will be vaccinated for the 2nd time in July. Attaboy, Doug. Doug, will you request vaccination proof before going on the trip? That will be up to the lodges. I'm assuming so. I don't think they're going to. I don't know about that. But I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I would tell them, Doug. I'd say, hey, I've been vaccinated twice, by the way. I got full vaccines in, so it's not
okay. All right, this is a good point. Before I get to the breaking news, by the way, the Countess herself hand wrote and hand delivered this, just so that you know how important this is, okay?
Oh, shit.
Before I get to that, I had a conversation with one of our lodge operators who's in the contest, Ted Putnam at Hawk Lake Lodge. And Ted said, wouldn't it be a good idea? And we were just throwing stuff back and forth via text messages. He said, wouldn't it be a good idea if now you have to appreciate the fact Ted is an American. He's an American owner. So he's thinking totally different than we are. He's in Boston. He lives in Boston.
Boston.
So he said, I think we should make it mandatory that you have your vaccine up to date in order to visit the lodges. And the first thing that came to my eye, I said, well, that's all well and good for you. Like you guys are what, 86% vaccinated in your state? We're not anywhere near you right now. And I don't think it's fair that we put that type of stress on this content. That is undue pressure as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, if you have COVID, if you tested positive, you ain't going anywhere anyways. So I don't think that's a great idea, because who knows when we're going to be totally vaccinated here.
Yeah. It'd
be a perfect world to say that. I think it'd be wonderful, but no, I don't think we can say that. We're not in control of it. That's the beauty. Eh? I hate the situation that we're in because we're not in control of it. If most of us were in control of this, we would have this done and finished, but we're not. We won't get into the politics involved in this thing, but we're not in control. So I don't think we should bring this contest down that road at all. You are going to be working with if you're fortunate enough to win, which is going to be a lot of you who are, you're going to be working in concert with the operators. Between the two of you, you're going to figure out when it will be safest for you to enjoy this wonderful opportunity that you have won. Let's put it that way. And all of the lodges that are operating, by the way, that are participating in this contest have already had to cross one hurdle. They had to be a part of the NODO safe COVID program. They actually had to get a stamp of approval from NODO that they, in fact, do comply with and have passed all of the testing from NODO. So feel safe in knowing that whoever you draw, lodge-wise, they've already had to jump through some hurdles to be a part of this contest in terms of COVID protocols.
And that is a must from the lodges, by the way. They have to get that stamp of approval. If they don't get that stamp, next, you're out. So,
Dean, good old Dean Talbot says weekly live streams are needed more than ever right now. Yeah. As I said at the beginning of this thing, we've been so wrapped up in this. Our intention was to have weekly events, but we've been so wrapped up in keeping this event, the Great Ontario Getaway Giveaway, on the rails that it hasn't been possible. Maybe once we get through this first month and things are running a little smoother, I would love to, and that's my opinion. I don't know about you, Pete, but I would certainly love to do it on a weekly basis.
I'm having a hard time with this hard work I'm doing right now, but I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Once a week. Would be,
Can somebody get Pete a hammock? He looks like
and that beer that Tony was offering me too. Can somebody bring that too?
Thank you, Tony. All right. So this was just passed to me.
Yes. What is this? Come on.
This was passed to me for those of you who are not aware of the hierarchy that is here at
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
.com. This was just passed down to me from, the only way I could describe it, I guess, would be from the highest position in the company. Unknown to me, it was just presented to me, handwritten, by the way. I want you to see that it's handwritten
and highlighted.
So it's even more important when you get handwritten. This is not a text or an email. Handwritten, and it says, and I quote from the Countess herself, the lovely, the talented Monique, by the way.
Dear Angelo, I'm buying you a dog. It's a bitch.
Don't. Okay.
What?
Because you know why? Because you always get away with this stuff, but I don't. Okay? You know,
Just a little note.
all my life, 40 years now, I'm influenced by you, and you know, you're good at getting it. Like, and I follow along like a little puppy dog to you, and then I feel comfortable at some point saying, "Hey, you know what? If Pete can do those things, why can't I?" So I take the chance to do it, and I get clobbered, but you never do. You're like,
Why would I get clobbered about something like that? That's so simple. That's an old Gordyism right there. That was been 40 years of my life, so 50 years of my life.
you're like a Franciscan monk. Doesn't matter what you do, you're always good. Eh? I step in a little bit of doo-doo, not even the whole pile, and I stink. You can roll around.
I think a Shaolin monk where I could do the Kung Fu. That's what I'd like to be.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, what is this? Come on.
So anyways, it says, and I quote, considering that we, what?
Look at Ruben. Look at that. You'll love that one.
Ruben, folks have lower expectations of people.
I love it.
Thank you, Ruben.
That's awesome.
All right, and I quote from the Countess herself, you can't get a higher office than the one that she sits in. Considering that we, and in brackets, FNC, that's us, Peter and I, did not make it perfectly clear, we should allow people to change their stories. Wow. Wow.
So halfway through a month, they should be allowed to change the story? Is that what you say?
Uh-oh, here we go. Yes, Nicholas.
I spend a lot of time with my grandmother. We all are aware that she raised me from a young age, helping mom.
So you're
even I don't understand what that message means.
Prince Nicholas.
Yeah. That wouldn't really work. Think about it.
Now maybe our lovely Countess is a little confused as to the monthly changeover every month we do a new contest, and they do change it then.
However, Calvin brought out a good point. The boss has spoken, so maybe something, yeah. We're Nancy, Cynthia. We have no idea what she'd mean by change your story halfway through. I don't understand how it would work, considering that the story is the entry, and so it's like entering again, but with the same votes.
I bet everybody that my story of Dear Angelo, I'm buying you a dog, it's a bitch, is much more understandable than Monique's does with that. I'll bet you.
And Ruben, if you need to edit,
female dog, that's it.
If you need to edit, Ruben, email info@Fishing Canada, like I said earlier on, and then we can go ahead and edit grammar, spelling in case you missed that when you submitted. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm sure we'll have a hour and a half meeting about it.
I have to say this: the people have spoken. I'm reading all of your comments, and I think it's perfectly clear that the people have spoken. And it's ironic that the people who got it from the onset are the people who are with us here today, because I don't see one single comment that says, "Yeah, great idea. Let's go change our stories." No. I see here everybody says no. Why would you allow people to change it now? We're almost at the end of this first month's contest. Okay, all you have to do, and thank you for the submission, by the way, or the suggestion. Appreciate it, honey. Thank you. All you have to do, for those of you who now say, "Oh, what's that?"
I didn't say.
I thought you said something there for a minute.
I was laughing at you.
All you have to do. No, I have to pull the foot out of my mouth, right? All you have to do is, if you feel that now you just finally got it, which is, I'll tell you, I told you at the beginning of this piece that most of you didn't get it. So now you get it. All you have to do is forget what you wrote for this current contest. Just Get on the bandwagon with your influence of your circle, right? Your people, your family, your friends, other contestants who you now can mingle with every day. You can talk to everybody here. And you can talk to every single contestant here at will now. Tell them that you didn't quite get it, but boy, you would really appreciate getting their help. And if they would just kindly vote for you. If you don't have 14 kids, like it was suggested that you should have earlier on, and just get people to vote. That's all you need. All you need is votes. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do. You could stand on your head, and it wouldn't make any difference because all you need is votes. So
and tell those people that are voting for you, they got a chance to win too later on down the road.
That's right.
That's the incentive for them.
See, I'm glad you brought that on because you have a very valuable commodity that every single contestant would love, and that is your vote. And all they have to do to get your vote is to give you theirs. How simple is that? Think about that. It's brilliant. It's so wonderful. They can have your vote if they give you theirs. If you guys collaborate together like that, boom, next thing you know, both of you win. So that's how you have to deal with this right now. As far as next month, well, as soon as we unveil the new topic, you've got a chance, like everybody else, to come up with a wonderful storyline and wonderful images, and off you go.
And we will unveil that very soon. So just to give you a nice, you can have a bit of a head start even if we get able to unveil it. Maybe should we unveil it a little bit beforehand? I think we could.
I think we should, as a matter of fact.
Friday, we'll unveil it Friday so that they have the weekend to think about something like that. And then it comes up midweek when the contest starts. They'll be all ready to go. Those people that want to be ready to go, because it's going to get them extra votes the sooner they're in, right? So,
yeah. Cam is saying, "Sorry, I'm late." It's okay, Cam. We're done now. But anyway, you can watch this whole thing on YouTube, correct, guys? As soon as we're done, it's on YouTube and you can play it over again. But in short, yes, it's a short story contest, and you need to garner votes in order to win.
Reader's question, though. It is both.
Sorry. Thank you, Peter. It is both. So you can win by submitting a story that's compelling enough to draw votes, or you can win by just participating, because there's going to be a random element at the very end. There you go. And I just had something too came to mind, and now Cam threw me completely off. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I get the hard drive going.
Poor Canada, eh?
Oh God.
Hey, any quick fishing questions up there before Hans gets back to that stuff? No, I don't have any. Hey, I'm going for my COVID test my COVID vaccination on Saturday, everybody, just to let you know. Very happy about that.
And Saturday, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I got the appointment made up and done up. Very easy to do. I thought it was going to be harder than it was. I did it all via website on my phone, and I'm ready to get stuck for my first shot. So, yeah.
I wonder how many people have got their shots already in this group.
It is refresh button. I know, it's a little laid back. So it's a boom. Good one, Cam.
Pete can only work in short spurts, unless he's on the business end of a fishing rod. Pete is pretty limited for the amount of consistent flow of work.
I would agree with that.
You're good. You're good in short little bursts.
However, though, I'm not bad walleye stick either. If I have to drag a live bait rig with my finger on it, I'm just sitting there doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like it looks like pretty lazy, but yet I've been known to catch a couple doing that too. So
I told you you're good on the business end of a rod, but in terms of other work, you're good in short little spurts. But you do need your break in between because it's funny. We'll go to meetings. Pete and I will go to meetings, big high-level corporate meetings with big influential people. And of course, I'm all pumped up like from the day before. My adrenaline is just flowing because to me, those things are important, right? So I get right into it. And in the middle, an hour into a meeting, in the middle of a meeting, and we're like I'm fighting to fight to represent and all that stuff. And I look over at Pete and he's sitting back just thinking right there. I'm thinking, oh my God, please.
You're the salesman of the company. You've always been the salesman. When you're a true salesman, nobody else can fit in those shoes. Okay, let me tell you that right now. When you're a true salesman, that's it. You're the best of the best. So that's what you do. You got to sell the product. I'm just
Ruben Kincaid, who's been with us all day. Thank you, Ruben. Appreciate your support. He wants to know, why do steelhead run in the fall? It's an age-old question that we've had a million times. So why do steelhead run in the fall?
You know what? That's a question that I can't answer.
I can answer that.
I knew you would.
Keep in mind what steelhead are, where they came from. They're not natural to these waterways, right? Everybody knows. I hope everybody knows. Put up your hand if you know. They were introduced. They're not a natural species in our Great Lakes. They come from a species of fish that spends part of its life in the ocean, in saltwater, and then the other part of its life in freshwater estuaries or rivers or freshwater that flows into the ocean, right? They go there predominantly to spawn, although in some areas they'll spend up to 50% of their life in those freshwater estuaries. And they generally come in the fall so that they can set up for their spring spawn. So it's not uncommon, especially in Western Canada, where this fish originally came from, as far as our Canadian waters go, to have what they call a winter run steelhead. And the winter run steelhead is where most of these fish start coming into the freshwater flows and estuaries because they're going up. They're migrating up to the freshwater so that they can reproduce in the spring. And that's why we see that here in this province, in the freshwater lake to freshwater rivers that these fish now exist in, these test tube fish, they're coming in the fall as well. And they're coming in with the fall movement of salmon. So a lot of people are saying, are they following the salmon in? Like how, what? No, it's their DNA. It's impregnated in these fish right at birth that in most cases, their ancestors were moving into these waters during that winter period so that they could be ready for the spawn in the spring. Mm-hmm. Most of it here is kind of different. Most of these fish start migrating up in the spring, but we're seeing more and more cases where they're moving in during the winter period and staging for the spawn all winter long. Well, as you know, Pete, a lot of our fish, including most of the ones that we're very familiar with, with steelhead and bass, spawn doesn't just happen. We think it does because of the visible part of the spawn, which is the nest and the eggs and the fry and all that. But it takes place months earlier in the fall where they start building up their systems in order to spawn and start moving in various parts of that water body in order to spawn. Steelhead are no different.
You'll notice that with pike and walleye, when you catch them in the fall, you keep one for eating a female and she's full of eggs already. You know what I mean? Yeah. In the fall. It's like, wow, really? Late fall, they're just loaded with eggs still. So
exactly.
Here's one for you. Would those steelhead, let's say the Great Lakes steelhead, would they be smart enough to know that, hey, we're going up with these salmon in the fall, why not eat some of their eggs while we're up there? Do you think that'd be the deal too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the most obvious reason, but they didn't end up there because of that, Pete.
Yeah.
They didn't come in,
right?
Yeah, they didn't come in because of that. But they find themselves in that position, and yeah, they do predate on their eggs. There's no doubt about it.
Look at John Murphy. John Murphy's up there. Does fish urinating warm the water?
Wow.
Well, people do. Don't pee in the pool, John. What the hell? I don't know. That's a good one. God.
Winter fish get so dark and colorful, don't they, though? And that all has to do with the spawn. I mean, that's when they get that first, that's when they turn into the spawning mode in terms of steelhead, is when they first come into that river, whether it's that winter run or whether that's that spring run. That's
Read,
what first.
Read Larry. Nick, put Larry's up there. This is interesting. This goes against what Ange was saying. So
Pacific-based steelhead actually moved in historically to eat salmon eggs, so they established a DNA pattern over thousands of years. There you go. So there's another theory, is that they actually developed this, I don't know, appetite for salmon eggs. Listen, Larry, that's a very good possibility. All I know is that in Western Canada, Pacific run steelhead, there is a winter run, which any real steelheader from out west will tell you is the biggest run of steelhead in the 12-month cycle is that winter run. And that's when they initially come into those freshwater estuaries and start preparing for their spawn, which could take place 2 or 3 or 4 months, 5 months down the road. So a fascinating fish. By the way, for those of you who have not, that have fished steelhead here in Ontario, but have never experienced true steelhead, blow your mind. Blow your mind. They are such a different animal. It would you'd say to yourself, are these even the same species? They are just unbelievable. What a great fishery that is out west.
yeah, no, it looks pretty odd. Just the scenery when you see that out there, like there's beautiful mountain rivers and unreal. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Got anything else to throw up there, Nikki? Have we missed anything, Jordan? Have I missed? Do you guys think angling pressure was down in 220? And no. In fact, angling pressure. I mean, it depends on what you call angling pressure. Sales of licenses, and I'm not talking in our jurisdiction only. I'm talking about North American wide. Sales of fishing licenses were up in some cases over 20%. I've seen reports of 28% increase in areas, most of them in US, by the way, of the sales of fishing licenses. So if we determine fishing pressure based on participation, and I'm going to assume participation equates to the purchase of licenses, I would say the pressure was even greater.
Yeah, and it depends. If you look at its specific spots, like the Ganaraska River on opening day, there's a lot less pressure there because it was closed down. It's going to be again this year. So, but that's very, very specific versus generic. Yeah, what Ange is talking about, those numbers are generic, and they would far outweigh the little specifics here and there. So,
I talked to a seasoned angler a couple of weeks ago about that very issue. We were talking about a Rice Lake, which is very close to us, Pete, about pressure and how COVID has changed the complexities there. And he came up with an interesting analogy, and that is that, there's an increase in angling licenses since COVID hit, going right back to when it first hit in 19. There's an increase in the purchases of license, but the majority of those purchasers were novice at best and neophyte at worst, like first timers. And so in terms of really hardcore fishing pressure, I don't think there's been a lot of change. And, with no disrespect to novice anglers or first time anglers for that matter, there's a big difference between a seasoned pro angler and just a novice angler in terms of applying pressure to any fishery, whether it's bass, steelhead, walleye, muskie, I don't care what it is. And so I think in terms of actual pressure, maybe not, because a lot of us, and I don't want to get into this debate again, a lot of us adhered to all of the protocols that were in place right from the get-go, and consequently didn't spend as much time applying intelligent fishing pressure to our fisheries as others. So in that sense, there might have been less fishing pressure, intelligent fishing pressure on our fisheries during this COVID period. But more people bought licenses, so more novice anglers were out there pounding the waters, if that means anything to anybody.
hard to tell, actually. That'd be a hard one to gauge, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll know in a few years, right? Because A lot of people think that what happens today, we're going to see it. What happens this morning, we're going to see the results at the end of the day in terms of our fishery, but it's not the way at all. Keep in mind, most of our game fish, I would say with very few exceptions, and I can't even think of an exception right now, but most of our game fish here in Canada sort of operate on a 4-year cycle. In other words, from the time that the egg is dropped to the time that we even have an opportunity to intercept with that creature is usually 4 years, 3 to 4 years. So anything that happens today, we won't see the results for 3 or 4 years down the road. And that's something important to keep in mind, because that very lake that I just mentioned that a buddy and I were talking about, the reason he called me to get my input on it is because it's in trouble right now. And this lake underwent a major regulation change a few years ago. And it was very controversial at the time. And I think you know what I'm talking about, Pete. It was
Rice Lake? You talking Rice Lake?
Yeah. It was very controversial at the time because there was a major change in regulation that some of us felt was going to have a tremendous impact on the walleye fishery, even though the regulation change was not for walleye. It was for other species of fish in that body of water. But a lot of us thought that it would have a profound effect on walleye going down the road. And lo and behold, there was a problem this year with the walleye fishery on that body of water, which, by the way, has got the largest biomass of any lake in Ontario. Rice Lake, a study that was done by M&R in 2017, conclusively determined that Rice Lake had the largest biomass of any lake in the province, meaning there were more living organisms per acreage of water than any other body in the province. And now one of those species is in trouble. So
you know, it's funny though, because you hear one side of the story, but I've talked to a lot of buddies of mine that are fishing Rice Lake lately and said the walleye fishing is outstanding. Big fish, lots of fish.
Big fish.
Lots of fish, I'm saying, but lots of big fish along with everything else. So depends on maybe who you are, what your tactics, are you changing with the times too? Might be that as well, right? So I don't know, but it's funny because you're hearing the average is definitely what Anne's just saying, that, oh boy, the fishery's in huge trouble and all that stuff. But other guys are saying, whoa, I don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, I'm sure that there's always people who find them, right, Pete? I mean, we've fished enough tournaments in our lives to know that somebody always does find them.
Oh, God.
But, you know, speaking to people that live on the lake, that derive their living from the lake, and more importantly, from walleye fishing, it's not a pretty picture right now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and the reason I bring that up is because sometimes things that we do today, we will not see the results for at least 3 or 4 years down the road, if not maybe 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, of course, it's too late because now in order to affect changes, we're gonna have to wait another 3 or 4 years. So it's changes in regulations, especially changes to a fishery that's doing well, I'm always leery about, because I say if it ain't broke, why change it? And you know, this leads me right back to how we started this episode, 2 hours ago, and that is that bass fishery that we are now going to possibly affect some changes on. It's been great. I said this when the new regulation was first introduced. It's been great. We have the best bass fishing, I think, on the planet. If you put smallmouth and largemouth in one category, I dare say that we have the best bass fishing, bar none, of any jurisdiction on the planet. So why are we screwing around with it? Are we that addicted to it that we have to squeeze every last second of it out? I don't know. I just don't get it. We have something that is outstanding. We boast about it. We're proud of it. We're the first ones to tell, especially Americans, that, hey, you think you got bass? We got bass. Yeah, we don't have Texas size bass or Florida size bass, but I'll tell you what, in terms of average, we've got it. So why are we messing with it? And maybe the answer is we're not. I don't know. But anyways.
4 years.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Tell us. It'll tell us for sure.
Yeah.
There was one very quickly about the Credit River. I don't know, Nick, can you put that one back up? Big Bobber, I think, had it up there. Town of Erin, Ontario is about to build a sewage treatment plant that will dump into the West Credit River speckled trout spawning areas. This will kill the river and the trout and other species. I don't get that. Like, how can that be done in this era, in this day and age? How can a sewage treatment plant dump raw sewage? Raw sewage, I'm assuming, is what they must be talking about, into any water, let alone a river with specks. So hopefully there's more to it than that, but that is very concerning. Thanks for that, Big Bobber. I don't know. We'll probably keep our eyes open on that one. I haven't heard of that one yet, so it'll be something to keep up on. That's brutal, if that's the case.
It's amazing how much of that is going on today. It's absolutely. Do you remember a few months ago? Oh, 3 months ago. So I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. A few years ago, I had an interview on Outdoor Journal Radio with the mayor of Montreal at the time.
Oh, I remember that.
It was like a week prior to him turning the big wheel to open up because they were reconstructing some of the underwater passageways for the flow of water for the city of Montreal. And in order to work on the construction, they needed to shut off. They needed to divert their sewage system temporarily while they connect the new system up. So he was on the verge of turning this big dial that would dump raw sewage from the city of Montreal into the St. Lawrence River for 4 days.
Holy Jesus.
4 days of raw sewage from the second largest city in Canada.
So I'm assuming they didn't do it? You said
They did. They did.
They did it?
Oh, they did. It blew my mind, but they did it. They did it. And in fact, if I remember correctly, they went 5 days because they couldn't get it completed in 4 days. So for 5 days, we dumped raw sewage into the St. Lawrence River. Now, having said that, that gave me an opportunity to do a bit of research. And I already knew of one jurisdiction that has been dumping raw sewage into pristine waters since the beginning of time. And that is the city of Victoria. City of Victoria dumps raw sewage into the Pacific Ocean every day, including today. Bizarre, isn't it?
Oh my God.
So to answer your question, does that happen? Yeah, it happens. It happens with a lot more frequency than we think. And unless you start digging in, you don't realize just how incredible it is. The amount of raw sewage that we put. Here's another one for you. And not to get off topic, but now
let Big Bobber saying it's not raw sewage. It's 7.2 million liters per day of effluent. So it'd be warm water above the trout's tolerance. So it warms the waters up so that the trout still can't live and spawn anyway. So
yeah, you might as well put raw sewage in the water when you do that, especially on that body of water, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, Bobber.
It boggles one's mind. I found out, and I shared this one with you, Pete. I was contacted by a group of people who are working on a project to eliminate or help eliminate some of the damage being done to fisheries due to the amount of dog poop that is being introduced into the Great Lakes. I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean dog poop? What, they flush dog poop toilets into the lake? I mean, what are you talking about? Well, for the next week, I got totally drawn in and immersed into this fascinating world. And don't quote me on these numbers because you know me, I don't let truth stand in the way of a good story. But something like 400,000 metric tons of dog waste makes its way into freshwater tributaries that are dumping into the Great Lakes every single day. It blew my mind. But these guys had evidence and proof. They had the science to show how much of this is being put into our system. So No, it doesn't surprise me anymore. Nothing surprises me at what we're doing in terms of involving ourselves in. And it's funny because we all think that we're good, solid citizens and conservationists at heart, but you'd be surprised at the number of companies that we support, unknowingly support, that are harming our environment every single day. But you have to kind of make that choice, right, between right and wrong. So, anyways, that dog thing is going to be coming up in the news. We're going to be talking about it in the months to come because it's a pretty interesting subject. I
mean, you look at the amount of dogs out there. That's a lot of dog poop because there's a ton of dogs out there. I mean, every day you look out your window, even during the pandemic, people are walking their dogs. I mean, more so now people are walking, getting out of the house because there's nothing else to do. Dogs and dogs and dogs and dogs. Me included.
By the way, what's happening, in case you're wondering, because I mean, what's a dog having a poop in I don't know, in Barrie have to do with Great Lakes, right? I mean, so what? People picking up the poop and dumping it. Here's the reason why. 90s, according to this group, 97% of the blue boxes that we so meticulously kind of make sure we put the right products in the right box that they can be picked up at the beginning of the week. 97% of them in the city of Mississauga last year, 97% of them had dog poop.
I know you're going with this. People are bagging it and dropping it in the guys. What a bunch of arseholes.
97% of the city of Mississauga,
wow,
reported having some amount of dog poop.
In the blue box.
In the blue box.
You people are lazy. If you do that, you are one lazy mofo. That's all I can say right there. That is brutal.
So, anyways, we got way off topic there, and I apologize for that. But what are you going to do?
Their excuse will be, yeah, at least I picked them up.
Yeah, true.
What are you going to say? God.
Anyways, we've gone into overtime once again, my friends, as per usual. That's why we don't come in every week.
Good God, we run out of content. We'd only be on for 5 minutes if we're on every week.
I just want to thank all of you for joining us today, and for the hundreds of you that have entered the contest so far. I know probably the vast majority of you have attempted but not entered. I urge you to come back and get with us on this, because our end goal is for a common cause, and it's not just a feel-good cause. I do believe that our efforts can help preserve an Ontario heritage, if not a Canadian heritage, and that is our northern brothers and sisters that are running all those wonderful businesses that help us go out and continue embracing this wonderful thing we call the outdoors, and in particular fishing. And by the way, it's not just the lodge owners. This is something else I think I just want to quickly throw out there. It's not just the lodge owners that need our help through this initiative, but it's all the other little businesses that are piggybacking on to the benefits of having these great entrepreneurs and businesses in their areas. So it's the owner of the local Esso station in Wawa, and the hotelier in Blind River, and all that. They all depend on our North Ontario little businesses, fishing businesses, lodge owners, resort owners, outfitters, etc. Because if it wasn't for them drawing tourism into that part of the country, things would be pretty hard for them too, because they wouldn't have customers. So by doing our part, and whatever that part is, I don't even know ultimately when it's all said and done, I don't even know whether we'll move the needle. But I do know that if we do nothing and just sit here, that people like Peter and I will not have this wonderful opportunity every year of immersing ourselves in this great outdoors. And I mean that selfishly. Obviously, I say Pete and I'm talking about all of us. And even if you've never visited one of these places before, wouldn't you like to think that by the time you're ready to visit, they'll still be there? And that's what initiatives like this are for. We want to ensure that they're there forever. They've been there 3 and 4 generations. they've never come as close as they are right now at ending that chain. So,
and hopefully today we've helped you a little bit in the contest. But if you've heard something, or you come in late, or we didn't help you yet, go to the contest page, and there's the new help button that Jordan just put up there, and it's everything we talked about in there. And then again, you got support or info at fishingcanada.com if all else comes to screaming halt in your life. But otherwise, you take a look at that page, it should help you along much better. So hopefully.
And above all, spread the word. Above all, tell people that you sat in on this today. Above all, tell people that you're in this contest. Tell them why they need to be in this contest. Hell, have them come in and vote for you. And while they're there, tell them to sign up and become a contestant and garner votes for themselves, because it's just a real good place to be right now. So on that note, I will call it a day for the entire team, Nick, Jordan, Pete, and of course the Countess, who was involved in today's episode as well. We will be back with you for sure at the end of the month when we announce our first 5 winners. And prior to that, maybe we can do it live when we tell you what the next leg of the contest will be themed as, what the storyline will be. So we'll be in touch. In the meantime, get on fishingcanada.com, get on there often, vote, and then vote again. That's 5 votes each and every single day between now and the end of this month. And you're going to be doing your part, number 1, to win, and number 2, to help out. So there you go. Catch you later, folks. If you have any questions, talk to support at fishingcanada.com if you're having problems getting in. Otherwise,
Here, John. Here. It's beer time.
It's beer time, Pete.
You know it, boys. Woo.
Take care, man.
See you guys.